Happy Thursday, friend. I'm so glad that you were able to stop in and visit with me today. Would you just look at that little button nose right there? Isn't that just the cutest? I have a guest with me today here in my craft room. It's Mr. Pilgrim. I wanted to make sure that I got in a actual heavily themed Thanksgiving project for this fall season because I think that they're just so adorable. This is a big sign from the Dollar Tree and you would never know it looking at this project. So look at him close up. You see that darling little button nose right there? If you like celebrating Thanksgiving, this is going to be a fun project and the steps are super easy to follow. I found this large sign and it's supposed to be a cutting board with cute decor words all over it at the Dollar Tree. And I knew this size would be perfect to turn this into a giant pilgrim. Because why not for Thanksgiving and fall season? Now I glued down a thin piece of white fabric because I wanted to be able to paint on that and not have to do a ton of layers of paint. This really sped up the process. Now friends, I'm putting on these little rosy cheeks and I ended up having to redo them because I realized I put them too low. You'll see at the end that I'm going to readjust them. But once I got that skin tone painted on there, I put down some of this gingham plaid fabric and now I'm going to make the collar. The collar is really simple. I'm using a piece of felt. I'm going to cut up the center, fold it in half, and then cut up at an angle to the center point that I ended at to create more of a triangle collar like a pilgrim collar would look. I'm just going to come right up to the middle and then when I open it up it's perfect. Now I'm going to back this because the felt that I had was a little thin. It's the same fabric that I had for the skin tone that I glued down earlier. I'm just going to back that right on top of it so it's a little bit thicker and I don't see the gingham coming through from the shirt. I put lots of glue, flipped it over, patted it down, then I'm going to just simply cut it out. Now I am making the fabric hang over the sides a little bit because I didn't want to get the measurements wrong when I was gluing these on. If you pre-cut it too small, you can't go back. So I always like to let the fabric hang over a little bit and then I can go back in and trim around the sides and I'll have a nice clean finished side versus it being too short, seeing the sign underneath it. This is the best way to do it. So I cut all the way around the board, that extra fabric hanging over. Now I'm going to make the pilgrim hat and I'm going to use a piece of chipboard, but I highly recommend more like a piece of cardboard. This chipboard is really thick to cut. It's used for scrapbooking, for making albums, little mini albums. I just created how far I wanted his hat to come out and then I created an angle going up to the top. I trimmed it all out and then I'm going to take one of these large craft sticks and I'm going to glue that for the brim of his hat. Pilgrims have a wider based hat, so that's why we're creating this. You could just skip the hat completely and just make the board be the hat. You could definitely do that and just put the craft stick across where the top of the head is, but I wanted it to be a little bit bigger, so if you want to skip cutting out a hat, you could totally do that too and just glue the craft stick right where you want it to hit on the head. Now I'm going to glue that down and you can see that I put some black paint on the handle. I also painted the back side completely black because I really wanted to clean up this project and make it look like one unit and it all had purpose. Now I'm going to put 2 dots for his eyes and I just did a little dot. I used the back of my brush to do a little dot and then I used my finger to make it just a little bit bigger. Now I'm taking a piece of gray felt and I'm going to cut out a little bit more of a rectangle shape and I'm going to cut out the middle as well because this is going to be the buckle on the hat. Now I've got some of this white felt. I'm going to glue that onto the hat, push that down, and then add on the buckle. And this is where he really starts to come together and I think it is just so stinking cute. I glue the buckle down onto the hat and then I'm now going to glue on a tiny little nose. You could use a button for a nose. I'm using this little wood piece. I think you use this for when you drill holes and you fill in the hole, but these are at Hobby Lobby. They're little tiny wood rounds, but they're flat on the end. You can push them into a hole that you drilled where maybe you put a screw. But I found these and I thought, this is so perfect for his little nose. So whatever you want to make his nose out of, you can definitely pick something up around your craft room. I'm sure you have something that's round for a little nose. And then I'm going to just sand down the hat to give it some of that farmhouse flair to it. Add on 3 buttons. I went with white buttons. Add on a bow. I thought a black bow would be perfect. I'm just going to tie a bow and leave those long tails. And now this is where I'm like, nope, I got to fix those cheeks. They're too low. So I came back in with some of my peachy tan color for his face. And I'm just going to blend that in so I don't have to try to make it so perfect. And then I'm going to put the cheeks back on. They needed to be closer to the nose, not down by its neck. So I'm just going to blend and rub that in with my fingers. It's the best way to get a rosy pink cheek is with your finger by going in swirly motions. And once the face was completely done, I decided I still wanted to add a little bit more so it wasn't just so, you know, tan, black and white. Like I just wanted to add a little bit more. So I added this big, beautiful twine bow up at the top. I'm going to add in some florals with these green leaves and a sunflower. I really liked the finishing touch with the flower up at the top. You can skip that part if you don't want to do it and just leave it where you can see the handle still. Now to finish it off, I'm going to use hand cursive and write out Thanksgiving. Yes, I know the T is not capitalized. I often do lowercase when I'm doing cursive like this just because I like the way it looks more loopy. But I write out Thanksgiving with pencil and then I come back in with my white brush and I'm going to just take my time painting on Thanksgiving. Then I make sure it's really, really, really dry because I want to sand it a little bit so it has more of like a chalk paint look to it. Like I have a chalkboard. I like that look for the fall. And that's it. We made ourselves Mr. Pilgrim. Isn't he cute? Hey friend, if you haven't yet, please don't forget to click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And remember, this is Craftober. For the month of October, I am posting Monday through Saturday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time here on my channel, Heidi Sonville DIY. We have another big wreath. Can I get it all in the frame? In the shot of this video? I don't know if I can. But this is a rag wreath and it is so easy to make. I think you all need to give this one a try if you're looking for a fun wreath project for this fall season. The steps to this project are welcoming to all level of crafters and it is so easy to customize it in the colors that you want for your home. Oh friends, this project is so easy. We're going to take one of these 3D wreath rings and the fabric of your choice that has a pumpkin look to it. It can be dark, light. I went with this nice, beautiful, warm pumpkin. I took apart the wreath. I'm going to keep this extra one, the largest one. I'm going to put it to the side. And then I'm going to use these 3 smaller rings as well as this fabric. So I'm just going to take my scissors, make a little snip at the top, and then I'm going to rip the fabric down. It's about 3 inches wide for the fabric, and I'm going to rip a whole bunch of these strips so that I can get to the pumpkin wrapping. Now this is a rag wreath. I'm taking these fabric pieces, I'm gluing the end onto the wreath. And then I'm going to just keep coiling and wrapping. And every once in a while I stop, I add a little bit of glue so I can control the fabric, because I don't want over time for the fabric to shift and look funny. I'm going to keep coiling and coiling and coiling and coiling until I get to the end of that first piece. And to keep it going, I figured one long piece of fabric goes about halfway around the wreath. So then I have to glue on a second piece. And boy, these fabric pieces were just clinging to each other because of all the threads. So you're going to see me struggling with that a little bit, but it's really easy. You just keep gluing on long pieces to each other. I need about 2 long strips for each wreath. I'm going to coil it all the way around, and when I get to the end, I am then going to finish it off with gluing it. Now, once you've gone through all 3 of your rings, you're going to have one in the center, one off to the right, one off to the left to create the pumpkin shape. To keep them all in place so they don't move, I'm going to use 3 zip ties. The first one's going to be right in the center. The second one is going to be at an angle, and then the third one's going to be the opposite angle. So you've kind of got a crisscross with the zip ties. This is going to hold it all in place so that the pumpkin rings don't shift around on you over time. And we're not going to see those because we're going to conceal them with some more fabric and some florals a little bit later. Now I'm going to come up to the top and repeat the exact same process, doing the one in the center and then the crisscross with the zip ties. Again, this is really going to hold it together nicely. Now be aware, these rings have a breaking point. If you try to squish the pumpkin down, the ring can pop. So I recommend don't squish the wires. Just go ahead and put your rings. I avoided squishing them because there's a breaking seal point where they bend the wire together. I learned this years ago when I first started working with these rings, that they can snap if you start to squish the wire. So just put your rings on there. It looks great as a pumpkin. And then that last 4th ring, I'm going to cut a piece down and I'm going to bend it into the shape of the stem. I'm going to coil the ends so that this is going to allow me to be able to zip tie this thing on nice and firm. I'm going to add 2 zip ties on each one of those little curly cubes I made in the wire, fastening it into place, and now it's locked in really nicely. With my extra last couple of pieces of fabric that I had, I'm going to start to coil it around that center point where all those zip ties are. We don't want to see that. That's not pretty. And then when I run out of the length, I'm going to just, again, glue on another piece so I can keep going and wrapping. Isn't this so pretty? You could do this with so many different fabrics. You could even use multiple different color fabrics. I think this would be such a cool thing to do if you have extra fabric around the house, or maybe you have a shirt from someone who passed that you love, that you want to incorporate it into the wreath and it's a memory keepsake. I love using fabric like that. I do Christmas ornaments like that with like a star. I'll take a shirt or something. I'll recommend wrapping a star and putting it on the Christmas tree with like a favorite shirt from someone who passed away. It's just like a nice way to remember people with like your home decor. Anyway, once I finish wrapping all of the top of the stem, I'm now going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to add on all the florals. Some sunflowers, some of these citrus green hydrangeas, some leaves. I really wanted to have a really big bow at the bottom. And this particular ribbon is not really ribbon, it's upholstery ribbon. You use it when you're doing upholstery on chairs. I upholstered a chair years ago and I bought a big roll of it. This stuff is so fun to use around fall and Christmas time. I'll try to link it down below. I got mine from Amazon years ago, but I'm pretty sure they still have it. So I made a giant bow. I'm going to zip tie that sucker on because I don't want it to fall off. I'm just going through one of the fibers of the bow and then zip tying it to the wired pumpkin. And then to finish it, I'm going to add on some florals, and that's it. The most beautiful, huge wreath to put on your wall or door somewhere in your home for the fall season. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I really hope you give these projects a try, and if anything, try some of the new techniques. Don't forget to leave a comment down below in the description box letting me know which one you like and which one you think you might try for this fall season. And I'm curious, are you all moving on to Christmas? Because next week I will be working on Christmas projects for the rest of the year moving forward. So we've got this week that's all fall, and then I'll be doing Christmas then moving forward. I'm really excited about it because I've got some fun things to share for the Christmas season. Now please don't forget to click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I'm going to recommend this video right here for you to check out. Thank you so much for being here, and until the next episode, bye friends.